it's just, this is our chance to know Ben very, very closely. So now for the guest of honor for this evening, Mr. Ben Jealous. Mr. Ben Jealous is the youngest ever president and CEO of the NAACP. He was nominated as the 2013 Madlander of the Year by Baltimore Sun. He is also a civil rights lawyer and a community organizer. Mr. Ben Jealous.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you to everybody who helped organize this. It's an honor to be here with you. And it's an honor to be here with Judge Turner. My name is Ben Jealous. I'm a civil rights leader and a business person. And most of my life as an organizer, as we led the NAACP, going to my 5th year investing in startup companies. I run the only Baltimore office of the Silicon Valley-based investment firm. And we invest in companies that make the world better for working people, like Pigeonly, co-founded by a Morgan State grad and a U.S. Air Force vet. Both of them had done time for the distribution of cannabis. They've cut the costs. They came home frustrated. So expensive to call home from prison. So expensive for their families to have their loved ones call home from behind bars. And their company, Pigeonly, has cut the cost of calling home from federal prison to 80% for mostly low-income families around the country whose loved ones are locked up. As an organizer, civil rights leader, as a business person, one thing you know is that people matter. Your customers matter. The communities you organize matter. And that's the simple conceit of this campaign, is that you matter. We all matter. It matters if you can afford health care. It matters if you can simply get the health care you need when you need it without fear of being driven into poverty. It matters if your children can go to a good school and be safe. It matters if your small business can get the line of credit it needs, capital needs when it needs it to grow. It matters if we have leadership that stands up to Donald Trump. I'm proud to be the only candidate running for governor in this state or any other that's already been arrested out front of Trump's White House. I was there because in 2013, I co-chaired the campaign to pass the DREAM Act. In 2012, I co-chaired the campaign to pass the DREAM Act. And then one of the dreamers called me and said, we're afraid to get arrested this time. They're deporting us much more swiftly. And, one of us, the Maryland dreamer, was just found dead. This was this summer. He said, was just found dead 2 weeks ago in a Walmart parking lot in a truck trailer. Drivers had abandoned it. And the sun had turned into an oven. Rose to 20 immigrants and death was a Maryland dreamer. So I said, sign me up, let's go. And it's that conviction that we matter, that each of us matters, and the greatest resource of Maryland is its people. That's led me into this race and to advocate that everybody in Maryland should have health care. That if the federal government won't pass Medicare for all, that we will at the state level, because that's how it started in Canada, and that's how it will start here. So it's led me to say that not only, and I'm relieved that the legislators now admitting that they lied to all of us when they said that the casino money would go to education. They're trying to fix that, but you know what? There was a lie before that lie, that the lottery money would go to education. And all of that needs to be used to supplement historic sources of funding for education. Not supplant it. But we have to go further and make sure we fully fund our schools. Because if we don't, we shortchange our children today and our economy tomorrow. And that's why I'm out here advocating that not only should we return Maryland to be third in the nation as far as health sciences, industries, biotech, but we also should recognize that one of the strengths of Maryland, again, on the premise that all of us matter and that our biggest resource is our people, is its diversity. Anybody ever seen the movie Hidden Figures? We're kind of like a hidden state. Jeff Bezos, I guess, might be starting to look forward to that $5 billion check that Larry Hogan would like to write to his company to come here. One of Larry Hogan's folks said we should be willing to write a blank check. You know, there's another way to attract tech companies here. And that's actually to sit down and listen and find out what their challenges are and how we can help solve them. So later this month, I'll be bringing in leaders from some of the largest tech companies in the world to look at Maryland as a place for possible expansion, because we can do three things. One, we can help them solve their million programmer shortage in the Valley, the Silicon Valley. They're now up to a 600,000 programmer shortage. They're projecting a million programmer shortage just 4 or 5 years. Part because it's so expensive to move there. Second, they're under pressure from a lot of advocacy groups, and when Donald Trump's out of office, it'll be the federal government again because the Obama administration turned up the heat on them because they become radically less inclusive. 30 years ago, big tech companies were 30% women programmers and 10, 12% black programmers. Today, it's 15% women programmers and 2-3% black programmers. Well, here in Maryland, our state is almost 20% of our programs are black. And Prince George's County alone, just for example, has 17 times more black programmers than Santa Clara County, where Google and Facebook are headquartered. So when you embrace all of your people as mattering, then you realize that we can create more jobs for everybody if we could just convince them that we're really one of the few places that can help them solve their shortage of black programmers. Because even if it's 30% here, which is the population, the percentage of the population of the state, it's a lot more jobs for everybody else. The other thing that they're excited about is a governor who's actually willing to listen to them and help them solve their biggest issue, which is that we just can't crank out enough programmers fast enough. I said to a guy, if he doesn't lead a team of 1,500 programmers, there's 15,000. I said, why do you always hire people with master's degrees? He said, funny things that nobody ever asked us that. So the answer is simple. We need people with 2 years of specialized training in the coding that we need. And in a liberal arts education, they can learn a lot of things, but they never quite have 2 years of specialized training in the coding that we need, so they go to a master's degree. He said, but you notice what I said, right? I didn't say that they needed a liberal arts education. I said that they need 2 years of training in the coding that we need. You could do that in an associate's degree better if the states would just work with us. And that's why I'm also out here saying that when we fully fund education, we're not, yes, to focus on universal pre-K, and we'll make sure that kids are learning coding from age 6, just like they are in Singapore and the UK. Our focus, because you're going to need to know it for everything. It's reading, writing, arithmetic, and coding that our young people need to know. But we will shift the focus of our high schools to not just be to prepare every kid for college, because you know what, we've tried that for 2 generations and it doesn't really work. 20% of them works well, 80% of them not so much. We'll make sure every kid comes out prepared for a career and for college. We'll build apprenticeship programs like they have in Central and Northern Europe for decades. Because the secret here in Maryland is that we do not have a shortage of jobs for our kids. We have a shortage of our kids that we've trained for the good jobs that we have. Just think about it, right? Look at your neighbors. We import people for everything. I mean, yes, for trucking and welding, building trades, but for nurses and for doctors and for programmers and for art teachers. Governor, we have achieved nothing else than we fully fund our schools and assure that our public education system moves the fastest pipeline of talent into every industry in the state. We got a lot of work to do. Here in Maryland, in construction management alone, we need 3,000 new construction managers every year. And our biggest public university program produces less than 2 dozen. Those are jobs that quickly get you to the 6 figures. And we could be providing 3,000 of those jobs for our kids. And the best we can do at one university is 24. I'm governor, we'll do better. In my soul, what drives me to believe this is urgent is my family's own experience. My family moved here in 1941. Granddad had worked at the B&O Railroad. Grandma went to work for Planned Parenthood. Moved to the McCullough Homes housing projects in West Baltimore. Granddad would go on to become a probation officer. How? Because in late 1950s, third or fourth class of black students admitted to University of Maryland Law School, tuition was $200. Today, if that had kept up with inflation like it did until 1970, when it was $410, it'd be $2,600. But it's over $31,000. My grandmother's experience, the state of Maryland actually paid for her to go out of state for graduate school. She went to the University of Maryland on a state of Maryland scholarship because we didn't have a school of social work then. She came back and she helped build the undergraduate schools of social work at every public university in the state, and she helped train a young social worker named Barbara McCulsky. Barbara walked up to me the other day at the Emerge Maryland event. My running mate, Susie Turnbull, is a co-founder of Emerge Maryland. She's also the former head of the DNC Women's Caucus and the former head of the Maryland Party. And I like to say Susie isn't just part of the wave of women running for office for the first time across the country. She helped build it. So we're at the Emerge Maryland event, and Barbara walks up and she says, "You're Mamie Todd's grandson." I said, "That's right." She starts to tear up. I said, "Senator, my grandmother's very much alive. She's 101. She's very much alive." And she says, I said, "Do you want to talk to her?" She said, "Yes, please." So I dial her my cell phone, and miracle of technology, my grandma picks up, and they talk. Senator thanks me. She says, "Well, you see, I just said her name affects me." I said, "I noticed that." I said, "What's that about, Senator?" She said, "She helped train me." I said, "What did she do?" She said, "She made sure I didn't feel awkward when I was a young social worker." And I just beamed and thought to myself, wow, Grandma did like a really good job. I've never seen Senator McCulsky look awkward a day in life. Well, generation after they retired, 20 years after they retired, there we all were at Dulles Airport, them waving goodbye to me as I flew off to be a Road Scout. That's the way Maryland's supposed to work. It's supposed to be that we remove obstacles for young people to succeed, like we did when my mom sued Western High School for girls when she was 12, so she could desegregate when she was 15. That we make it possible for our young people to pursue their dreams in higher education, or even to go back in the middle of life, like my grandpa. And that if you serve our state, you earn a decent wage, you get a good pension, and you can use those wages and those pensions to send your kids, they sent my mom and me to private universities. That's what the American dream is like, and that's the simple fact is that the Maryland dream is supposed to be just a little easier than it is in realizing the American dream in other states. That's why we moved here. That's why most folks in this room moved here. But that dream is rusty. And the way that the machine works in this state is they give you just enough hope to get you to vote for it. But they say things in just oblique enough terms that you think you know what they mean, but when you find out that that's not quite what they meant, they have like a lawyer's sort of plausible deniability that they weren't really telling you what you know they were telling you, and they knew they were telling you, but they don't want you to know that they actually knew they were telling you. Look no further than the casino issue or the lottery issue. I spent 2 years bumping around our state capitol saying, how come my money doesn't go to education? Democrats and Republicans telling me, oh, it all goes to education. I was like, I got 2 kids in the public schools. We're hurting. Why aren't we feeling it? Well, now the money we used to send to education, we send to something else. That's how people operate. That's how executives operate. When you're trained in politics as executives. When you're trained to be a CEO as a politician, your incentives are misaligned. You're taught, if you're too honest, you might lose your job. So learn how to not speak too honestly. And if you make tough decisions about, say, the budget, well, you'll definitely lose your job. So kick the can down the road. I was trained as a CEO of the real world. I've been a CEO of a nonprofit or a partner in a small business since I was 26 years old. And what you learn is 2 things. One, your word is your bond. And the other is, if you don't make that tough decision about the budget, you could lose everything. Not just your job, like everybody else's job. The entire organization, the business itself. And so, I come to you tonight resilient because I know how great our state can be. And optimistic that we can do big things when I'm governor. Because this isn't about a campaign so they make me governor. It's about building a movement of working, struggling, striving people across the state to put the working people of our state back in charge of our state's priorities. And what makes me optimistic that we can actually get these things done is because I've done it before. I spent my whole life making hard things relatively easy to overcome. That's what I do in business. The startups we invest in, that's what they do. They're all double bottom line, helping working people solve serious problems while growing these businesses. And that's what I've done in politics. I'll give you an example. In 2013, I was named Marylander of the Year by the Baltimore Sun. Because in the 12 months prior, I had put organizers on the ground to help pass marriage equality. Folks who remember that battle will remember there was a certain point we were told, the folks in the know, there was no way we would win. Because you had to be at least at 60%, because they said the far right wing would come with their advertising and push it down to 51. Some of us put faith in the people of the state and the trends, and we defied the odds. I co-chaired the successful campaign to pass the Dream Act. They said, that will never happen south of Mason-Dixon. Don't forget where you are. Oh, I know where we are. My family comes off of plantations 150 miles due south of here. Not just my black side of my family, my dad is white. A few white guys who go to jail repeatedly in downtown Baltimore to desegregate the lunch county because he was offended at how his students were treated teaching in Harlem Park Junior High. I know where we are. And we won that battle. And they said, the death penalty? Yeah, good luck. Martin O'Malley tried out himself just a couple of years ago. He failed. You think you're going to succeed? Go talk to him. I want to talk to Martin. Martin said, hey, Ben, if you can get Mike Miller to give you a floor vote, yeah, sure, I'll come out and support you. But good luck with that. And I went and sat with Mike Miller, and he explained to me I wasn't going to get my floor vote. And then we had a random conversation about history. And I walked out of his office and I said to my organizer, I said, what are those 3 things we're not supposed to do if we ever want a meeting with Mike Miller again? He said, don't organize his district, don't phone bank his office, and don't talk to his priest. I said, right. Tomorrow, we start doing all 3 things. And they said, well, how long, boss? I said, until we get our floor vote. Weeks later, we've gone through Thanksgiving, we're almost to Christmas. I run into Mike. He says, Merry Christmas, Ben. I said, Merry Christmas, Mike. He said, what will it take to get your people to stop? I said, you might. Give him a floor vote. He said, Merry Christmas, Ben. You got your floor. That's when we abolished the death penalty. That night, the president of our state senate, who many say is just simply the shadow governor of the state, found out what it was like to deal with the NAACP president, who was not a preacher, who was not a politician, who was an organizer. And when I'm governor, I'll find out what it's like to deal with a governor who's an organizer too. Because the movement that we're building is not simply to win in June or November. The movement that we're building is to win all the victories on the other side. Some of them will win like we won those victories by simply declaring the motto of the 3 Musketeers and saying all for one and one for all. In those battles, we literally had signs and lawns across the state that said, pass marriage equality, pass the Dream Act, abolish the death penalty. It's a very big, robust coalition. Some of them will win the way that I helped the governor of Georgia, the Republican, and the minority leader of their assembly, who's a Democrat, and I running for governor herself, shrink Georgia's prison system. We got the activist Republicans who, the one thing we could agree with them on was the Tea Party folks, was that the prison system was too big. And the activist Democrats, who all knew the prison system was too big, together to do an end run around the moderates and shrink their prison system. The prison system now is down more than 25% in 3 years. Here in Maryland, our politicians, our state senators tell you, oh, we passed criminal justice reform. Really? What does that look like? Oh, well, we project to shrink our prison system by 5% in the next 10 years. Now, when was Maryland supposed to lag behind Georgia, and also, by the way, Texas, in anything good? How do you call that a victory? So yes, I'm optimistic, y'all, that we can get back to doing big things again, moving our families forward again, no matter what's going on in Donald Trump's Washington. building that movement. We don't just have more low-dollar donors than any other campaign. We have more low-dollar donors than all the other campaigns combined, including Larry Hogan. Other frontrunners in this race, they take 35 to 50% of their donations come from businesses, the corporate contributions. I'm a businessman. If I write you a check, it could be out just like you or your brother's a friend of mine. If my business writes you a check, we're expecting a return. I said from the beginning, we will not seek any business contributions and we will not take any from any business on a small business. 99% of my contributions come from individuals. 1% is a mix of some trade unions and some flower shops and some restaurants that have in-kind. A couple folks decided to send us just a check from a small business, that's fine. It's less than 1%. It's not 35%, it's not 50%. If you want to know why that matters, consider this. Our state is half women, it's 30% black. People of color, various colors, another 10, 12% of the state. Brand new industry is launched in Maryland, medical cannabis. $200 million to start. 100% of the contracts, of the licenses rather, 100% of those licenses are given to white male-owned businesses. And you know, my dad's white. I want to make sure white guys have plenty of opportunity, but 100% is a bit much. You know, in the 21st century, the 17th century may be okay, but in the 21st century, we need to be a little bit more inclusive than 100% going to one group. When I'm governor, we'll do better. And we'll do better because we're going to build this movement. Thank you and God bless. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned fully funding education, which I hope we have the same idea what that means.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll tell you exactly what it means. The state's own consultants say that the state underfunds education by $2 billion, and we'll close that gap.
And you mentioned revenue from gambling.
Yeah.
Which, as sort of an aside, I think is a really terrible way
Sure.
to fund our education and to bank on that. So what else are we going to do? I didn't hear you sort of not taking the point.
Yeah.
On that list of things that we're going to get together on, tax the rich, tax the corporations, fund our schools.
Sure. So let's just go through it. I believe money matters. I also believe management matters. So I'll talk a little bit about management, and then I'll get into money. Our state, when they audit the budget, they audit how you spend, how your department spent the money. What they don't audit is whether the earmarks are still needed. Put earmarks in the budget, these roll over year after year after year after year after year. Every time a state goes back to audit their earmarks, they find some percentage of the budget just isn't necessary. Things that they put in there, they earmarked 10 years ago, they just don't need. So we will audit all the earmarks. And we'll find some level of savings, and I'd be surprised if it's not at least $100 million. I suspect it'll be more than that. Second, the other thing that politicians don't really like to do is to include the rest of us in the conversation about the budget. We'll engage in what's called participatory budgeting. You actually poll the voters in your state, radical idea. Find out what's most important to them, and you do your budget priorities based on that. Education is always number one, number two. So it gives you a mandate. Whatever's first or second, that gets fully funded. Next, we will increase revenues in very targeted ways. Those targeted ways, we will legalize cannabis for adult use. What drives that for me, somebody who has had 2 family members shot in Maryland in the last 10 years, is that it will bring down violence. Every state where we legalize cannabis, violence goes down in big cities in that state. You know, in Baltimore alone, we interviewed police commanders, and they said they weren't quite sure exactly what's driving the violence the last 2-3 years, but in the last 10 years, they all agreed half the killings were ones that are weed dealers enforcing other medical dealers. Violence also goes down on the border, because the cartels have gotten big, and they keep growing in the importation of marijuana into our country. And the violence goes down the border every time a state north of the border legalizes it. MS-13s are my daughter's middle school campus. Is there anything I can do? Take money out of the pockets of the cartels, it's fine. That will bring in over $300 million in new revenue. will close corporate loopholes. That's probably worth another $150 million. We will make the rules fair between Main Street retailers and online retailers, and apply sales tax to online sales, not just to Amazon, but to all of them. A long time ago, we said we needed to not do that to let the online economy take root. It's taken root. Now Main Street is just getting clobbered, and that's not fair. That's another $80 million. And we will make sure, for instance, that hedge fund managers pay a higher effective tax rate than their secretary, because they should. So those are the types of things that are on the table. It'll be a combination of management, increased revenues, and then, again, because we'll have participatory budget, actually funding first things first, and then making some tough decisions. I'm very clear that if fully funding our schools costs me my political career, that's fine. Honestly, all I ever wanted to do in this life was be president of the NAACP, and I did that a long time. So, I want to finish the work that my mom helped start at the end of the NAACP, which is Student Election High School. Until we fully fund our schools, none of these other theories that we have in the integration itself actually work. Yep.
Crystal Anthony with St. Louis Solar Applicant. I have a question. My question is, right now Maryland is on track to do 20% of Maryland's electricity should be renewable energy by 2020. As you know, a few days ago, the Clean Energy Job Creation Bill failed. My question is, what are your plans to help move the initiative? Like, for instance, my company, we're hiring, it's clean jobs,
Yep.
I'm looking at the neighborhood side. So, we still have a long way to go. We see what's going on every day, the wheel tax, the impact, climate change, our seafood here,
Yep.
the temperatures. Like, what are your plans to
Sure.
help?
Questions on renewable energy. I believe that we should make being 100% reliant on clean and renewable energy faster than any state in our region our moonshot. It's the right thing to do for the planet. It's the right thing to do for our economy. Wayne Gretzky said he was a great hockey player because he skated to where the puck is going. The puck on energy production is only headed in one direction, and that's towards clean and renewable. Whoever gets there first gets to build the biggest economy in the region. See, 65% of our clean and renewable energy, when we're at 100%, will be coming from offshore wind. And we're deploying that many turbines, we should be building them here. We can build the blades on the eastern shore, they got to be close because you don't want them rattling too much in the truck. We can build the turbines in places like Baltimore or Cumberland, where the only thing they put on old factory grounds anytime recently in Cumberland was a prison. And why is that important? One, because, like when Bethlehem Steel left South Baltimore, we didn't just leave South Baltimore, they left West Baltimore and East Baltimore too. We have people across our region who really do best when they can build things with their hands, and they don't have a lot to do. It's the same reason I want to governor around our Amazon distribution facility. We will build an advanced manufacturing center so that we can put lots of little companies that are building things to ship all over the country. And while we will, down at the port, build an even bigger free trade zone so we can ship things all over the world. This is why China is going so hard after clean energy production. They understand this is one of the biggest wealth generation opportunities of the 21st century. And if we build the turbine factories first, and as the other states in the region come online, they will source from us. And our economy will grow this way.
Yeah, looking at your flyer, was that said you were a civil rights activist and a civil rights lawyer?
Yeah, I didn't write that. I'm a civil rights leader, not a civil rights lawyer. Thank you. There's a big difference.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not in my bio.
Somebody asked when you went to law school.
Oh yeah, no, sir. I'm a former Rhodes Scholar. I did my master's at Oxford, but I'm not a lawyer, and never have claimed to be one.
Well, I asked Praveen, and he said that tax came directly from your office.
Yeah, that did come from
I'm
my-
sorry if it I messed something up there. So.
Yeah. We didn't. Any flyer we produce has our logo on it. It says paid for by. That's how you know that it wasn't.
Tax came from your office.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that's the case, sir. Thank you. Yep.
So obviously, you having a startup background, I really appreciate it because I consider myself a technologist as well. Are there any emerging technologies
blockchain has a lot to contribute, and that will only grow. One area I would like to see eventually, but we're like a long way away from it, is around, for instance, like online voting, right? Being able to see if there's any, changes in the code. I think the most important thing, though, when it comes to innovation is for us to actually have a very robust, aggressive Office of Tech Transfer in the governor's office. You want to know why a place that was used to be orange orchards in California became the Silicon Valley? You have to start with the fact that it was full of federal research facilities, like at Ames, Stanford University, Berkeley. And what they became good at, starting their garages, building companies like Hewlett-Packard, was taking federally funded research to market faster and better than anywhere else in the country. Maryland has more federal research dollars per capita than any state in the country. And we need to basically be able to give any entrepreneur in our state, anybody in the world who wants to come here and build a company, a map, where to find them. I'll give you an example of how this works. My company, Caper Capital, invested in a company at a Johns Hopkins Accelerator where I'm a mentor called eMocha. eMocha, the founder's name is Sebastian. Talking to Sebastian one day, I said, your company, what it does is it helps people take compulsory medications, legally required medications, like methadone or tuberculosis medication. What does that have to do with coffee? Why do you call it eMocha? He said, well, it's nothing. He said, it's an homage to my last company. I spent 15 years building a chain of coffee shops across Germany. So I said, well, why are you here? He said, well, because I'm an American. I wanted to come back home. I wanted to build a company that was relevant to working people. So I went to Johns Hopkins University's tech transfer office, and I said, what research do you have that your researchers have created that would help working people that hasn't been brought to market? And thus eMocha, and it's growing very well. We could be doing that all day long here. All day long. But we've got to get serious about it. It just can't be that, a guy in Germany, decides to fly back here, wander around, find the right person, get a good idea, start a company. We can make that much easier. We'll be doing it much faster. We can be growing much more robust. Yeah.
So what do you think about making 2 years of community college or 2 years of vocational training free for all kids?
Yeah, that's where college affordability has to start. And we have to start it as much, right now, we're approaching free community college. We need to go further. So if you're a graduate of the public schools in some jurisdictions, if you graduate of the public schools, and it's within X number of years after you graduate in some jurisdictions. But the reason why we need to get there is as much for the college students and the folks who graduate from high school as it is for the kids still in high school, and frankly, the kids who are in elementary school. You see, when your community colleges are free, you're able to push more what they call dual credit courses into your high school. These are courses where your kid can get college credit while finishing high school. And when you're able to do that, then yeah, you can do it for the liberal arts, but you can do it for programming, you can do it for building trades, you can do it for any number of things. You can do it for nursing, you can do it for beauty school. And as you do that, that means that coming back to high school each day becomes more and more relevant for kids who don't see themselves going to college. We will save a lot more of our girls that way, we'll save a whole lot more of our boys that way. And if you're doing that in high school, that means the conversations in junior high school, and even as young as the 3rd grade. Right? Once, a little bit of time trying to help some folks in NASA figure out how to market being an astronaut, back when we had astronauts more than a generation ago, to the black community. And we figured out that you had to engage people in the 4th grade. That idea wasn't in their head by the 4th grade. There's no way they're going to jump all loops and become an astronaut in time. And so it is with so many other things. And so we'll get serious about tech education in our high schools, career education in our high schools. We'll do that largely through making community college. It's the first step in our college affordability plan. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Arnold Shumwai. I've been here living for 38 years. I've worked in Baltimore the whole time. Regardless of who the mayor is and the governor, the crime rate and corruption, the security forces has just stayed the same or increased.
Yeah.
What you as a governor are going to do with the crime rate in Baltimore?
Well, thank you for that, and the corruption, because both things are important.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, we just saw with the gun tricks task force, right? It appeared that they had a mole in internal affairs, and on the 3 police officer trial board, there may have been a corrupt officer as well. And then another officer left Baltimore, went to Philadelphia, and they were transferring drugs across state lines. Right? I mean, there was a lot going on there. We will, on corruption and on killing of unarmed civilians, we will have a special prosecutor that reports directly to the governor. Just as Governor Rockefeller did, he did a lot of things that were wrong in criminal justice. He did one thing that was right, and this was it. He appointed a special prosecutor to handle it, to oversee every allegation of officer wrongdoing, killing of unarmed civilians, corruption, and we will do that. Because right now, you have the police officers, for instance, the Fraternal Order of Police involves funding state's attorneys' races. So not only do you have to worry about the police overseeing, you know, the police policing the police, you have to worry about the police-funded politician. That's a mess. So we'll have a special prosecutor. We'll make sure that we have civilian complaint review boards with teeth. We'll make sure that that internal trial board, that 2 of the 3 people are civilians. We will fully fund the Safe Streets program. Every neighborhood that they operate in Baltimore, they bring down the shootings 26%. When I checked a year ago, they were in 4 neighborhoods. I think they've recently been, last year that's expanded to a few more. Baltimore has 200 neighborhoods, so you know, there's a long way to go. At the very least, they should meet each one of the 9 police districts. We'll make sure that police officers put first things first. For 2 generations, we practiced something called the broken windows theory. It's actually really a misinterpretation of the theory. I say that as somebody who teaches criminal justice policy at Princeton University. But be that as it may, the idea was if you focus on really small things, you can stop big things. Well, my grandfather, who was on law enforcement in Baltimore as a probation officer for 30 years, would tell you, law enforcement's like anything else. If you're doing one thing, you're not doing something else. And so it turns out that if you're focused on like whether a kid has a joint in his pocket, you're not investigating the last murder. And as a result, homicide case close rates or solve rates tend to suffer. So we will make sure that the homicide unit gets larger, that the special victims unit, folks who investigate rapes, folks who investigate home invasions, that those units get larger, and those supporting them as well. Last time I checked in Maryland, I pulled a stat, and we said there were 3,700 unopened rape cases in the state. That's outrageous. Imagine that was your government. You know, it's outrageous. How would you feel? Outrageous. And yet it's tolerated at sort of a bureaucratic level. So we will shift those priorities. We'll make sure that those units are staffed, and we'll make sure people are held accountable. We will also do things like reopen the police athletic league centers in more low-income neighborhoods, for instance, in Baltimore, because you've got to create that bond between young people and officers. And we'll get officers out of their cars in the most dangerous parts of the city, walking the beat, getting to know people, because that's how you get intelligence.
But mayors, with all the time I outlined the governor's actions, alone they cannot do it for a variety of reasons, right? Any one of them has not been able to reduce the crime rate. So would you be willing to remove the mayor if he's incompetent?
Well, I think that's a bit ahead of things. I'd like to leave that one to the people of the city. But what I would tell you is this. Governor Hogan did not show up to one meeting of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Baltimore City PD, the reason they're running for governor, is talking about it's been a dual jurisdiction agency since the Civil War. It's a state and local agency. And so they have a coordinating council. And the governor didn't show up all through the uprisings, didn't show up after the uprisings, didn't show up. Then he decided he wanted that council to rubber stamp his policies. And they were like, you never come to the meetings, why are we going to rubber stamp our policies? The next time he showed up and he shut down the council. That's exactly what I want. My grandmother, my grandfather, if they taught me one thing about Baltimore, the years as a social worker and a probation officer, as I was spending every summer with them growing up, nothing good happens here, they would say, unless the governor wants it to. If somebody said 2 family members shot in Maryland, by the way, 1 in Columbia and 1 in Prince George's. Be clear.
What was it, Wild Lake?
Yeah, Wild Lake, the Wild Lake murder, Brian, that was my cousin, 18 years old, graduated of Wild Lake High School. I'm absolutely committed to making sure people of our state are safe. We'll do everything we do. The shootings are not just up in Baltimore. I've also been told by the violence interrupters in Prince George's County that while violence is down, shootings are up. And we'll make sure that people in our state get safer and we deal with these issues seriously. Yes, sir.
Recently, this week in Howard County, there was a decision made that HCPD issued a directive that all patrol officers will begin making regular foot patrols inside of every school year in the county. There was some town hall not too long ago. There's been obviously a little bit polarized issue, especially most communities of color a little bit have some concerns about it. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on if you've seen that program and
Yeah, I don't believe that we need more armed people inside of our high schools. And that's the whole point, is we don't want guns in our schools. What I'm focused on is making our state safer. We need to have a red flag law to make it easier to get guns out of the hands of people who are known to be a danger to themselves or to others. In addition to the teenager in Montgomery County who brought a gun to school and they went to his house and found the AR-15 and the hand grenades, we've also had a woman who in our state who said that she was afraid of her husband, and he was also probably a danger to himself, and he had a gun, and they said, no, but you have a temporary restraining order. And now she's dead and he's dead. It's a murder. Suicide. We've had an officer trying to protect a woman from that same fate get killed in Prince George's County. And of course, we've had what happened at Great Mills High School. So we've got to get guns out of our schools. We've got to be able to get them out of the hands of more disturbed people. I've said that, look, there's essentially an AR-15 loophole in our assault weapons ban. We need to close that. And when you look at the violence in the state, a lot of it is illegally traded guns that are imported from other states with weaker laws over the internet and actually in trunks of cars. When I was president of NAACP, we looked at the violence in Baltimore and found that a lot of the illegal guns were coming from states as far away as Maine were purchased in bulk. And so there's a role for the state police to work with state police in surrounding areas to actually interdict shipments of guns on the highways. And we'll be focused on all those things.
So in order to implement all these democratic priorities, what do you see as the path to victory over Larry Hogan, given his popularity and fundraising, and how do you think you compare with the other Democratic Party candidates?
Turning out Democrats and better. And I'll tell you why. Larry Hogan won by 63,000 votes. In a year when 125,000 fewer Democrats that showed up in 2010 turned out in 2014. There's a mythology that he got Democrats to vote for him. No. We just failed to turn out Democrats. And what do we do differently? Well, when my running mate, Susan Turnbull, was chair of the party in 2010, and my campaign manager, our campaign manager, Travis Tazzolaro, was ED of the party, they put literally 10 times more organizers on the ground. 120 in 2010 versus 12 in 2014. So we'll invest in organizers. But that's only half of it, because each of those organizers at best work about 700 voters. You've actually got to champion issues that inspire people to turn out. When we look, that's the lesson from 2014. The lesson from 2016 is, what are those issues? Those are kitchen table issues. That's why what I talk about is education, healthcare, and jobs, and economy. And frankly, building our economy not by trickling down, but by lifting from the bottom up. Passing the $15 minimum wage statewide. When you look at the polls from 2016, it's way down the weeds, but those voters who voted for Obama twice and then voted for Trump tend to be white and working class. The voters who voted for Obama twice and then didn't vote were often black and working class. What do they both have in common? They both felt that they and their families had been betrayed in the economy. So it's at the margins. They felt like it would have been a recession for the rest of us and become a depression for them. We have to get back to being Democrats. When you think about who inspired you to be progressive, Democrat, or political activist. Often in this country, you dig back far enough, somebody will mention a transformative woman, Barbara Mikulski, or Shirley Chisholm, or a man we remember by 3 initials, FDR, RFK, MLK. What do they all have in common? Yes, they were all about advancing civil rights. They were all about expanding economic opportunity for everybody. They were also clearly and specifically about ending poverty. We have to get back to the moral core of the Democratic Party, and that includes ending poverty. And when we're focused on those sorts of issues, you'll see voters turn out who typically don't turn out because finally we're speaking to them. Yes, sir.
I was simply going to say that, you know, you captivated the audience. You've got a lot of great ideas. This is a crowded field.
Yeah.
And you touched on it already, but before you get to Hogan, you've got 6 or 7 people to deal with. Where are you in this election cycle, and how are you going to cross this initial line?
Yeah.
Are you going to get this?
So there's a clear division in the field. If you look at the polls, there's 3 of us who always have the most support, and then the rest together have less support typically than any of the 3 of us.
Names and names. Talk names.
So it's me and 2 county executives who are the most competitive in this field. And my support has surged. I started off in 4th place. I've seen polls that show me tied for 1st. I've seen polls, public polls we've also shown me tied for 2nd. But we started off about below that. And as we learned in the battle for marriage equality, where we never hit the 60 that the national folks said that we needed to hit for them to all come in and help, but the trend line kept going up. I put my faith in trend lines. As a businessman, as an organizer, our trend line is solid. So we're going to keep pushing. We're in 4th. Now we're in tied for 2nd, tied for 1st. And we're going like this. That's it. I'll tell you this too. We're running 1st or 2nd in almost every county in the state. There might be one where we're not. And that's a very good sign too.
The Congress is willing to destroy the Americans with Disabilities Act and take away rights from, people with disabilities.
Congress is willing to destroy the First Amendment. That's how much you have to be.
Yeah.
Like, what will Paul Ryan not destroy?
I'm wondering if Maryland can rise above that and sort of have its own ADA for people in the state and maybe be a model to other states.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a dystopian moment when we have far right-wing conservatives who loathe our federal government, controlling every branch of our federal government. And I was distraught for a while. I said like a serenity prayer every day for like 2 months. And then it hit me. Their momentum has really been in the States. It's been the states' rights movement for over half a century. And the most important lesson I learned in judo, so the most important lesson I learned in college was in judo class. First lesson of judo, you shall use your opponent's momentum against them. Well, if their momentum has been to concentrate power in the states, then on every issue that is core to the people of the state, we have to be willing to make our state a model for how to move forward without it. You're absolutely right. And on the issue of disability rights, developmentally delayed, whole community of folks. I've asked Tim Shriver to be my advisor and supporter, and so he's helping us. We've also asked lawyers who helped Obama, for instance, reining employers who were financially exploiting disabled folks, help us craft new policy. And if you have ideas, Brian on my team's in the back. I'll give you his card and send him whatever ideas you have.
So what is your concern about small business? I heard a couple talk about it, talking about the minimum wage increase.
Yeah.
So what do you think, how the small business would be surviving in this competitive market with the online businesses?
Sure. So one thing, like I said, is I want to level the playing field so that online businesses, people have to pay sales tax there too, right? Just to take that away. Two, more importantly, we've got to fix some regulations. It's too hard to start a restaurant in Maryland, for instance. Like, way too hard. If you have anybody here like a consultant or have like a very small LLC of 1-2 employees, yeah. Business property tax. What a racket for the accountant. Literally, in Virginia, it costs $75. You fill out the form once, very simple web form, and then it saves it in their central computer. And every year, because if you're a consultant, like, what's your business property? Like a laptop, a printer, a cell phone? You just look, oh yeah, it's the same. You click it, it's $75. In Maryland, the minimum tax is $350, and you're wise to have your accountant fill it out, and that'll cost you like upwards of $700. We'll fix things like that, and we'll have a commission of business people to help us identify things that really serve no real practical purpose, but just gum up the system. We will. Most important thing in any growing small business is to make sure they get the capital they need when they need it. We're going to deal with that in 2 ways. The most basic level, we will back our banks, and specifically the financial institutions in the state that have a pattern of loaning to everybody, because they haven't had real issues around discrimination. Some have. To use financial services technologies that assess risk better than 2 years of tax returns and a FICO score ever could. To actually give out lines of credit earlier than 2 years. Because waiting 2 years sometimes means that you're like limping by the time that you get there. You're into factually, you're being exploited. But at the other end, like at the end of startups, the kind of high growth businesses, we will make Maryland number 3 in health sciences again. We used to be there. Now we're in the bottom half of the top 10. Why is that important? Because anytime you're number 3, 1, 2, or 3, but we can get to 3. Number 3 in a major vertical of investing, it means every investor in that vertical has to come to your state. And most people who invest in health, they also invest in multiple other verticals. It's like the Warren Buffett rule: if I can understand it, I'll invest in it. And we all think we can understand health, right? So, and if they have to come here for a health company, they'll stay here to look at other startups. We will also work very intentionally to help co-locate startup communities and investors in the same spaces in our state, because when you talk to startup companies about why they leave Maryland, it's too hard to raise here. And part of it is that traffic sucks and investors are all sprinkled all different places. And you look at places where they're really growing, New York City, Austin, Silicon Valley, they're all like right next to each other. So those are some of the things that we'll do. And we'll also, frankly, be focused on sort of speeding up intelligent growth. I mean, right now, I'd say you got 2 basic theories of economics. One is the pie is shrinking, and so any one of us wants a bigger piece of the shrinking pie. The other is that the pie could grow again. And then the sizes of the pieces we can have more negotiation about because the pie is growing. And let me just say one last thing on that. When we talk about college affordability, people often don't realize what that's really about is unleashing young people to start new businesses. If you look at there's a report from the Gallup Institution came out recently called The Great American Slowdown. What it says is that American GDP growth, 86 to 96 was 3.4%, 96 to 2006 was 2.3%, 2006 to 2016 was 1.2%. We're headed towards a negative. You ask them what happened, they said every decade fewer and fewer young people were starting new businesses. But what was also happening? College debt was going through the roof. And so you fix one, you don't fix the other.
Yeah, but my concern is still with the online competition. With more online, which is people think it's convenient because it's click from the home and we get stuff at the home. Yeah. And what happens, the tax doesn't come to the state. Right. The unemployment happens because no small business can survive with paying that much wages, and they have certain markup to have to sustain the business. Those online shippers, they don't need to pay anybody because they don't have employees, just one warehouse handling the whole country. Versus a small business who is having a local store with 5-7 employees, he's involved in the community, he has to pay the taxes to the entry-level guy, even $15, which is, you understand what they have to pay to the experienced people. So with all the overhead burden, how do you think a small business guy will survive when there's too much competition from online business? I mean, getting loans is easier, understood, but he has to pay back the loan. Right. So he needs to generate the revenue, generate the profit, then only he can pay back. But the main competition, like I've been in business for almost 20 years now, instead of Bannerman, and I see day by day, last 5 years, things are getting much worse. And I'm in the liquor industry, and fortunately we are a little bit helpful or graced by the local legislators that there are no competition from chain stores.
Yeah.
But the online shipping, which was allowed 2-3 years ago, and it was some glitch, some of the online shipping companies started shipping into the mailman. We met Jeff Kelly also at the comptroller's office, and they couldn't do anything with that.
So you mentioned a couple of things there. One, I would love to have a deeper conversation offline about some of the specific things that you're dealing with. One of the things that you mentioned was the value of limiting competition from chain stores, right?
Chain and online. Chain
Yes.
is, we are blessed with now.
I get you. So let's talk offline about online.
Sure.
But in many places, they've decided now to say, like in their business districts, there's a limit to how many chain stores can be there. And it really does open up opportunity for local business people, because you don't have to compete on paying rent with the chain stores, because they're limited to a certain percentage. The other thing I'd say is that I launched my campaign in front of my cousin's flower shop, but we all agree with all your cousins, right? The reason this cousin in front of her flower shop was because she had come out in support of the $15 minimum wage. What she had figured out, she said, look, 40 years ago we delinked, well, 50, we delinked the minimum wage from inflation. We didn't just hurt individual workers or their families, we hurt entire communities. Because people who are the lowest income tend to be clustered together. She said, I'm not just somebody who makes pre-flower bouquets in West Baltimore and ship to other parts of the city. She can actually serve West Baltimore. And if my neighbors are making more money, yeah, I'll have to pay a little bit more money to my workers, but I'll ultimately sell more flowers.
No, I agree on $15 minimum wage, I'm fine, because it's a cycle. Everything is going to go up, I will be happy, I will be paid more to do it.
Yes.
But
I have a feeling
that
that too.
competition with the online, which is not a real competition.
Yeah, so let's talk about that offline.
Sure.
I'm going to go to folks who haven't asked, and I'll come back. So you.
Okay. I'm reading that yesterday, Governor Hogan complained about the House of Delegates. He wanted to remove oversight over billions of taxpayer dollars for school construction funding from the Board of Public Works. And he complained that the House of Delegates would rather hand that critical authority to an unaccountable group voting bodies. What's going on there?
This gets back into the impact of corporate contributions. Developers of all kinds, contractors, it's very common that they write a lot of checks, and they want a return. And so my understanding is that Hogan, there's folks that he would like to see get these contracts. There's other politicians, they have folks they would like to see get those contracts. We've got to find a way to take politics out of it. Hogan appointed in medical cannabis, he picked the entire commission. And then they gave out the licenses. And only one demographic in the state got all the licenses. That's outrageous. We talk about it with redistricting, with gerrymandering, the way politicians are left to their own devices, do wild and crazy things. Well, it happens with contracting. We've got to make it happen.
So in the interest of time, one last question.
The Bresco incinerator releases toxins, including dioxin and carcinogen. It's located in low-income neighborhood, and it's accordingly not up to code. Would you support closing it?
Look, I don't believe that we should be. I don't believe that we should be doing trash incineration in our state. And let me just close on one thing, and kind of one last comment, if I may. This issue of indoor air quality is pretty serious, and it comes up in surprising ways. Ultimately, that incinerated ash will blow into schools and trigger asthma attacks, settle in the community, kids' lungs. You have to remember when the kids were freezing up in Baltimore. Well, I ended up in a Twitter battle with Boyd Rutherford, he was feeling himself that day, so he tweeted out, "If those were my kids," this is, paraphrasing, remembering it from whenever it was January, he said, "If those were my kids, I'd be down at the superintendent's office, raising up a ruckus." And I tweeted something to the effect of, "Newsflash, buddy, you're the lieutenant governor. They're all your kids." So I guess I'll see you at the superintendent's office today. And he said, "What time?" They probably should have taken his cell phone. What does he actually do? So he says, "What time?" I said, 3 o'clock. He didn't show up. Courage in this administration, not high water. 4 news cameras did. It was a good day for the kids. But the kids were still cold. So I picked up my phone and I called the superintendent. And I said, "Do you have any boilers less than 30 years old?" She said, "No, I'm looking at one, and I think it's twice as old as me. It's about representative." I said, "Well, that sounds like good news to me." She said, "Okay, please, Mr. Jones." I said, "Well, because any boiler that's more than 30 years old is so environmentally inefficient that it costs an insane amount to heat everyone. And new heating systems have become so cheap that you don't actually have to get like a new allocation of resources from the state. You just got to find somebody who's willing to finance. You're replacing all the boilers and replacing them with new environmentally efficient heating systems, and you should be able to pay them back in less than 3 years. Because your monthly bills will go down that much, and they don't cost that much to start." But I said, you can also look forward to having your student attendance go up. She said, "Why? Because they won't be freezing." I said, "Yeah, well, that too. But no, because every boiler produces smog. And the smog recirculates to the building. And it triggers asthma attacks amongst the educators and the students. And the day you replace that boiler, you'll start seeing fewer asthma attacks." The civil rights leader in me showed up that day outraged about our kids. The business person in me showed up that day doing what we do in business. We track the current trends. We never let somebody say to us, "Oh, just because you're resource constrained, you've got to do what you did yesterday." We're always looking for the better idea for tomorrow, and that's what you can expect from this government. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you guys, thanks for coming today. If you are not on our email list, please put your email ID there so you know about the other events which are coming up. Otherwise, like our Facebook page. I just wanted to recognize 2 other candidates who walked in after the event. Tim Latimer, he's running for the Democratic Central Committee. And Ellicot Saunders, he's running for the Board of Education. Thank you very much, guys. Ben will be around here for a few more minutes if you want to talk to him one-on-one. Thank you.